Thank you for listening to the Golden Hour Drip podcast with me, Logan Lee Miller. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Golden Hour Drip podcast. I'm your host, Logan Lee Miller, and the top that I have on today, I hate it when you do this. When you go into your closet and you think to yourself, what am I going to wear today? And you're going through and you might not feel super extra comfortable or confident in your body today, right? It's an ebb and flow of confidence. And I'm looking through my closet and I'm like, should I wear this? Should I wear this? And I haven't worn this top to an event or anything. This is my first time wearing it. And I thought to myself, man, I want to wear that shirt today. I got it at the thrift store in Cedar Rapids. I loved it. I thought it was so great when I went and visited Lily a couple weeks ago. And as I was looking through my closet, I was like, I kept going back to it. But I thought to myself, oh, it's not special enough for, like, I haven't worn it out yet. Is it like I'm just recording a podcast? Like, it's not that big of a deal. I always record my podcast. And I felt like this shirt should, be seen out in the world first. It's pre-loved, right? Like, the thrift store was called, Crazy Daisy or something of the sorts in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And I fell in love with it. And I thought, you know what? How many times do we tell ourselves, like, I'm going to save that for, a special day or a special thing? And I am just over waiting for a special event or waiting for something that seems worthy enough to use my things or, have a sweet treat or any of the things that we just keep waiting on, right? Like, oh, one day we'll get to wear that. One day it'll be special enough. And I pulled it out. I was like, why can't I wear it today? Like, I can make this podcast episode special because I wore this brand new shirt that I haven't ever worn out, right? This shirt obviously hasn't been worn out. It's pre-loved. Like, someone already christened it in the world, but it's new to me. And I just thought to myself, why not wear it? Why not put it on and make today special? We don't have to wait for a big event or to plan something great to, bring out our china. They always say that, like, your china, let me save that for a special occasion. And I can't remember where I saw it, but it was the fact that they used their china for like an everyday lunch. It was like this old lady, and they were asking like, or telling or whatnot, like, oh, you don't have to bring out the fresh china for us, like, it's just lunch. And she's like, I am 87 years old. Like, when will be a good time to bring out my china? Like, I'm almost dead. Like, I want to use my china. Today is a special day, even if it's just for a PB&J. Oh my gosh, that rhymes. Anyways, I'm just like over you, like, waiting for things to be used. And definitely from my childhood, I would save things. I have multiple siblings, and I feel like you're always kind of envious of what your other sibling has, right? We would all get a banana, but if I could hold on to my banana the longest and everybody else, maybe a banana isn't the best item because they're perishable and they also like brown. Candy. Okay, let's say like a pack of Skittles. Everybody gets a pack of Skittles, and I eat maybe one or two little Skittles, and my sister chows down, or my brother chows down, and they no longer have Skittles. 2 days later, I pull out my Skittle bag that I saved, and I'm like, oh, you ate your Skittles? I'm so sorry, I still have mine, right? Like, save it for a special day, save a treat, right? And now I'm an adult, and I'm like, oh, like, one, who cares what anybody else has, right? Like, I'm not competing with my siblings. I'm not 7. But I can buy another pack of Skittles, right? Like, I'm so blessed to be able to buy something when it runs out. Special shampoo or a hair mask, foot mask, nail polish. Like, I remember saving things for, I'm going to save this for a special day. And then I build up this expectation in my head of this is going to be an amazing day. It's going to be so good. Like, and when it's not that good or not that great, then I feel like I wasted it, right? Like, have you ever worn an outfit and you're like, this is the best outfit, I feel so good in it, great things are gonna happen to me today, and then maybe nobody saw your outfit, or nobody said, wow, you look so fab and amazing, they ignored you, right? Like, and you feel like you didn't let your outfit shine, and so one, you're bummed, but you're like, I want to try and wear this again, or wear this to another event, but it kind of feels like it's already tainted by the bad day. For me, I'm like, why should we build up this like great day? I'm gonna save it for this thing. It's kind of like a wedding, right? Or a birth of a child. I've never birthed a child, but I, for one, am really trying to work on my expectations of what I curate in my mind. I love to curate things. I love to make it beautiful. But sometimes I'm like, am I putting too much pressure on myself for it to be perfect and amazing? Because ultimately, like, we plan. There's only 24 hours in a day, and then it's done and you have a new day, right? So why save something for this special time? Why not make the day special? And it might just seem like a little, black and white shirt to you, and that's fine. When I purchased it, I felt like it was the marking of a day, and I'll be able to go back and remember, oh, I remember when I picked up that shirt. I was, fresh out of Lily's dorm, about to head back to Missouri and having some time to kill, right? So I think you and me is what makes that item special. I make this shirt special. You might think this is the ugliest shirt you've ever seen. Fair enough, okay? It's got some faces on it, okay? Fair enough. But I make it special, and I make this podcast episode special because I'm wearing it. So it's not the expectation in my mind, it's not the approval of others, but if you want to make the day special, if you've been holding on to something for so long and you're like, when is the time that I'm actually going to use it? Like a perfume, like everything goes bad and nothing is forever, right? Like if we can remember that, just like the banana is going to go bad. What's the point of saving it if it's going to perish before you can even use it? Candles gather dust, okay, and they lose their fragrance. Why wouldn't you want to use your candle, burn your candle? Yes, is it now used? Absolutely. But that gives it character, that gives it, a personal touch, a human touch that I was here, that I made a dent in it, and that I had an impact, right? So whatever you're saving for a special day or a special moment, let it be known that you don't have to save it for anything special, that you can make the day special. So I personally have multiple hobbies and crafts, right? Like I love to get my hands dirty. I love to make things beautiful. I really, like in 2020, I think we all, staying at home and things, but I wanted to have a hobby. I felt like it was a rocky transition, right? From going to college and having my sorority girls and having my clubs and having all the fun things that college brings to, okay, now I'm working an 8 to 5, driving an hour to and from Kansas City every day. Like it's a bit stressful. I'm a bit tired, like whatever. And feeling like I was just living to work and then sleeping to sleep and then going to work, right? Like I was just in such like a hamster wheel or a hamster ball or whatever, where I'm just going in a circle and I didn't feel like life had that much meaning, and I felt I am unfulfilled. And I feel like as a human, you'll go through spurts of this. I definitely felt it at my last job, which I will say, it has been a crazy year. Like I just thought back to myself, it's been 1 year. May 1st was actually the anniversary of me starting working from home, transitioning out of, banking and into this, new section and segment of my life. But I was like, man, like I felt pretty dead for a year there. And I feel like we're going to go through spurts, and that's where you grow, and that's where you push yourself to do other things. And most specifically though, right out of college, I felt like college took a lot of my time, okay? We have tests, we have studying, we have homework, new relationships, friendships, and for me, a boyfriend, right? And juggling work, juggling school, like extracurriculars, balancing your home life. Like, you don't have any time to yourself. It is horrible. It is ridiculous. And I haven't even, reading. I had not read for fun, I don't think, all 4 years of college. I seriously, I didn't have the time. I was stressed. I was working, busy, doing all the things, trying to have my college experience. And I didn't even read a book, right? So pandemic hits, I'm reading books. Oh my gosh, I forgot about books. I love books. Used to read all the time. My mom would take us to the library because we wouldn't purchase books because we were so quick at reading the books. Anyways, that's a side note. Books is a hobby that I re-picked up right after college. Painting is a hobby that my senior year of high school, let's just rewind a little bit. My senior year of high school, I had my classes stacked junior year. Junior year was, I was taking college courses. I was getting all of the credits that were needed to graduate taken care of. Math was something that I struggled with. It wasn't my super favorite thing. So I made sure to get that out of the way. And my senior year, I had mostly fun classes. Besides I had a college course in the morning, and then I was taking agronomy online because I was an agriculture major. I had one college course in, I think it was psychology. And then I was taking, I think 1 or 2 college classes online. And then all my other classes were fun. So I stacked them with art classes. And I think I had two gym classes, 2 art classes, and I want to say a shop class. Honestly, senior year though, our advisor switched and I didn't have that many FFA or agriculture classes, honestly, my senior year, because one, I did that freshman, sophomore, junior year. We're getting off track. Anyways, what I'm saying is most of my classes were art. And I talked to my art teacher. I was like, hey, I'm thinking maybe I want to be an art teacher. So he let me do independent studies, all the things. And I had art class, I want to say I had 3 art classes one semester, either the last or the first semester, 3 art classes. It was crazy. It was so much fun. And at this time I was watching a lot of YouTube, and it was mostly inspirational. It was, oh my gosh, it was Leo, I want to say Leo Jones, Leo and Cleo. He had a twin brother. He was a black male who was just so inspirational. I loved him with all my heart. He was the first inspirational, and now I'm kind of mad at myself if I cannot remember his name because he was so impactful. Leo Jones, was it Leo or Leon? Was it Leon? He was an inspirational speaker, and he was so powerful. Inspirational. I'm looking it up because I'm gonna be so mad. And I'm not. It's not Leo. It's similar. I'm so sad, but he had a twin brother that was basically Leon. I am so sad. I honestly have not thought of him in forever. It's gonna irk me, but anyways, I would listen to him, or I'd watch Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics Jaclyn Hill had her YouTube channel, so I'd go back and forth between this inspirational, I'm so mad that I cannot remember his name, but I would watch those videos as I painted, and it's still at my dad's house. Actually, multiple art pieces are still at my dad's house, but I took pottery, I took painting, I took mixed media. Every single art class that Dan Leet was my teacher. He was amazing, and he really did inspire me. I was thinking about art school, but he let me do it. He let me go to all the classes. I made this huge peacock out of, it was mixed media art, but I made it out of chicken wire. It was huge. It was sitting on the floor up, like it was this big, and then it had this huge cardboard spray of feathers. It was massive. But I remember like coloring all the leaves, and it was a huge project, honestly. And I remember like taking the oil pastels and blending the leaves, and honestly, like I had it left. I hadn't like glued on the leaves yet. I had to go to my dad's because I grew up in Northeast Iowa and my dad lives here in Missouri, and it was his weekend, so I was leaving. And I remember getting a pic from my high school boyfriend. It was sent by one of my good friends, Morgan, and it was like he had arranged the peacock letters to say prom. It was my sophomore prom, but I remember like that and thinking, did he actually glue my feathers? I was so mad. And then at my dad's, like for pottery class, I had this octopus. It was 2 bowls that I threw on top of each other. Like I threw so many bowls. Like I honestly, like some people would take a really, really long time to do their project, and I would have like multiple projects done in a row. But I had thrown 2 pots, and I was like, what am I gonna do with these? I ended up flipping one on top of the other. I made this octopus money jar because my dad at the time always had like cash in the house. It was a very cash-based society when I was growing up, right? And so he had this like money crock, and I wanted to replace it with this huge octopus. Why I chose an octopus, I don't know, but it was fun. And so that's like still at my dad's house. And then painting wise, I have this, it's 3 canvases, right? Like very Tumblr age. And it's a sunflower field. And all 3 canvases, like I pushed them so close together, and I painted the same thing on all 3 of them. But when you spread them, it was like the same photo. It wasn't like the same thing painted on each of one. Each of the canvases together made a big picture, if that makes sense. And it was these yellow sunflowers, and they are hanging up in my dad's bathroom. We only have one bathroom in his house, but so when you were like in the bathtub, you could look at my painting full of flowers. Like there's a bajillion flowers, and I remember so vividly painting these flowers and listening. I want to say it was Leo Jones. It started with an L. I know it started with an L. It's L Jones, and then his like brother's name, Leroy. I'm Leroy Jones. I'm pretty sure, or Leroy Brown. I bet it's Leroy Brown because. This is horrible, but Leroy Brown, is it Brown or Jones? Gosh, I am so mad at myself. How annoying am I? Like here I am just like on my phone. Leo Brown, inspirational speaker. Is it him? Leroy, come on. Les Brown! It was Les Brown! Oh my gosh, yes, I loved Les Brown. He is my favorite man in the entire world. This was like, or is it Leroy? No, it's Les. I know it's Les. That sounds like much better. I knew it was an L. You know, like when you think of things from your childhood and you know they're a little, oh yeah, now it's popping up. Les Brown's, yes! This man is engraved in my brain. I love him, but he had a twin brother too, and it's like Les and Wes or something like that. But I very vividly remember listening to his motivational speeches, and they were like an hour long. It's him on stage, and I remember his quotes just being pounded in my brain. We had iPads at our school, so literally you could pull up YouTube, do any of the things, and I would have my iPad up, I would have my earphones in, and I would be painting, especially because I had independent study too. Like in independent study, because my classes, I had taken all the art classes, and I had like pockets of time that's still open in my schedule. And so Mr. Lead, my art teacher, allowed me to take an independent study during a freshman class. And so I basically would do whatever I wanted in his class, right? So I'm listening to Les Brown, I'm getting his inspiration, I'm painting these damn sunflowers. I painted so many. And that's hanging up in my dad's bathroom. The second or third, I already talked about my octopus. The peacock, we do not have. I remember we had bunk beds growing up, so me and my three sisters slept upstairs in our attic. It was the entire span of our entire home. It was so fun. But I slept on the bottom bunk, and then Caitlin would switch sides, or no, Ashley slept on the top bunk, and she would switch sides from like my side to Caitlin's side, and then that does not matter. But my peacock, literally the only place that it could fit was behind my bunk bed. So I would literally be looking at the peacock head because it was very 3D. Like, it was a figurine. It was a whole pigeon, not a pigeon. Oh my gosh, a whole peacock. We don't have that. I remember the day we threw it away. It was very sad. But so the other artwork piece that I have, and I did this my senior year, also listening to Les Brown, love him. It's these like cows in a field, and it's my dad's farm. And I just like, it's funny how you look back at things. I have not thought about these memories in so long, but it's funny when you look back on things and you think, oh, like that was such a pivotal moment. I didn't even realize it. So here I am, like painting these freaking cows. Some of them started to look like buffalo. I remember like my friend was in this class, and it was a senior art class. But coming over and being like, that looks like a buffalo. That doesn't even look like a cow. And I had one of my classmates, he helped make my wooden frame for it. Very sweet, very nice. And also on top of that, this painting that I put this cow scene on it, at that time, I was making so many projects all the time. I would go to the very top of like his huge cabinets full of like glazes or paints or storage, and I would find abandoned artwork that people, is multiple years ago, not very good artwork. Like, art is in the eye of the beholder. Like, okay, who cares? But what I'm saying is nobody wanted it, and that's why it was left there. And this canvas, I painted over it. And I remember him saying, oh, like all the great paintings are actually a painting over a painting. Whether that is true or not, I don't know. I took it at face value. I was like, you're right. Okay, so I paint over it, and it is actually the first year that Garrett and I lived together. He moved in with me and my dad, and I hadn't touched it in so long. It was still at my mom's, but I brought it over and I put it in essentially like our first apartment, but it's really the upstairs in my dad's house. And I remember looking at that and like thinking, oh yeah, I painted that in high school. But it isn't until I sit here now and think, oh my gosh, like I was in a way manifesting what I wanted in my life. As I was painting, I would think, oh my gosh, like this is my favorite place in the world, to be here at my dad's, like to be with the farm animals, to be outside, like wide open spaces, like isn't the Dixie Chick song, right? Like I need wide open spaces. I need to be able to grow. And I just feel like also Les Brown, okay, like very motivational, very positive, like that's what I hope that my podcast is essentially. And he was like the very, very first man that I, listened to. I had never listened to inspiration or motivational anything before this time. And then of course, Jaclyn Hill, okay, we have the makeup and things, but I have all of these amazing good memories, and that's just like scratching the surface. I was very, very much indulged in my creativity as a child. My mother was a school teacher, lots of siblings. We always needed something to do, right? So if she could sit us down with like markers and journals, my mom would buy me all the glitter pens in the world, right? Like my favorite thing was going to the Dollar Tree or the dollar store, essentially, for whatever one it was, and being able to pick out a new notebook and pens, glitter pens at that, like those are some of my favorite memories. I also like had the pens that would spin in a circle, and they make these, oh my gosh, it was like a circle on top of a circle, but it was slightly off by like 1 little centimeter, and then make this really cool design. when I watch TikTok and I see the guy with the paint and he like puts it in the pendulum swing and it creates this artwork, I think of like when I was a kid, when I would draw on those pens. For me now, like I have about, I don't know, at any one time, 8 of these notebooks. I love notebooks. And I feel like so good when I have a notebook. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like all of these amazing good memories of having hobbies, having interests as a kid, and not really thinking about them much, right? Like we go into adulthood and no longer is our, creativity being sparked in the way that it was when we were a kid, right? Like we had every opportunity to play, to create, to do things. And when we get older, it's like we lose a sense of ourselves in that aspect. And it's not a super creative environment, right? Like if your job is something where you feel like you're building and you're doing all the time and it's amazing, great, I'm so happy for you. But like I've said on the podcast before, your job or your purpose does not have to be in line with your passion, and your passion does not have to be your purpose. So if you are so passionate about something, you don't have to be good at it. You don't have to monetize it. You don't have to sell it. You don't have to get a pat on the back on, like it's totally separate. You can do something just because you love it. And this past week, I was in the crankiest mood, okay? So cranky. One, I've been traveling, which I love to travel, right? But when I go and travel, it's much different when Garrett goes and travels. When he travels somewhere, I hate it. I hate being alone, and I'm working on it so much. And I've definitely grown so much in the past couple of years on how I react to like my environment when he's gone. One, I have a little bit of anxiety, like being home alone, right? Although I have 2 great dogs and like I'm so actually safe, like I am safe, but it like I've always kind of had like a little touch of great, like Garrett's leaving, I'm gonna be alone. Will I have the same feelings as I did, when I was having my panic attacks? It's always like being anxious about being anxious. And honestly, like if I do get to the point where I'm, anxious, I felt anxious before, I've gotten over it and I'm gonna feel better, right? So all of this, I was kind of in a bad mood. 1, because Garrett was gone, like I said. 2, because I'm on the verge of my period, okay? So I know it. My face is breaking out. My chin is breaking out. I'm starting to feel like a little crampy and just honestly disgusting. And my mood reflects that. Like I have been in a terrible mood and I try really hard to be a positive, upbeat person. For me though, I want to always execute, okay? Like no matter what. And sometimes when I am feeling horrible, right? Like if I'm feeling sick or I'm feeling upset or I'm feeling overwhelmed with all the work that I have to be doing, and then someone has like an issue where they're like, oh, I can't do it, and it to me feels like they're making excuses. I just like, give me the answer. Yes, you can do this. No, you cannot do this. And let me find the solution. Let me like recalibrate and figure out what to do. I can get a little snappy. I'm like, hey, like, can we get this done? Like, I understand, but also this, right? Like, and I know this is something that I'm working on, like my patience and my empathy when I feel like I don't have any empathy because I'm working just like you are and I'm having things that are coming up just like you are, but I'm still able to accomplish or achieve. Again, that is not right. I know that's something that I'm working on, but my mood definitely, like, even when I'm acknowledging it, sometimes it's too much of a habit and I'm still working on it. And we all get like this, right? Anger is a fine emotion, right? Like we have anger for a reason. It is not, of course I don't like to feel angry, but it is not supposed to be demonized. Like, being angry is okay. Being in a bad mood is also okay. Being sad is okay. You're allowed to experience all of the feelings because you are a human and we're meant to feel all of these feelings. I hope that you're enjoying today's podcast episode. Just a quick interruption to let you know that Golden Hour Drip has a weekly newsletter that comes out. This has bonus content, weekly updates, and future event information. If you haven't already, go down to the show notes, click the link, and join today. Now, back to the show. And I knew that I was grumpy this week. Like, I knew that I was being a pill, okay? And I was limiting my access to people. I was like, you know what? Like, I really need to, you never know what someone else is going through, and I don't want my bad mood to impact or infect someone else. So this past week, I had plans with a friend, and I was like, I really don't want to impact, like, I don't want to cancel one, like, I didn't want to cancel, but she's one of my very, very good friends. So I knew that she was going to understand, but I texted her and I said, listen, I am in a cranky, no good mood. Like, I am feeling like an absolute cuss word. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't. I'm so sorry. I want to hang out with you, but I'm not in the right mindset. And I knew that I needed to limit myself, and maybe that was not the best choice. Maybe I should have like stuck to the plans and still like did it, but they're understanding, right? Like, we have a really, really good connection. They understood. She said, you do what is best for you. We will reschedule. I know we'll hang out again, right? Like, we had a little laugh about it. I just need to get off social media. I need to cut off contact from people. I needed to stop consuming, honestly. Like, I felt like if I stayed in this like spiraling cycle of I'm not in a good mood, I feel like crap, I don't feel good, like I needed it to stop. So what can you do when you're not on your phone, right? And I always like to limit my cell phone when I can. So I was like, I need something to do with my hands. My mind is not able to get into a book. I'm not going to be able to sit and read a book. That is not where my headspace is. I need something to do with my hands. And because I love all my crafts, my hobbies, my things, I could always journal, right? Like, maybe that would have been good for me to write down my feelings, write down my thoughts. Like, why am I so cranky today? Like, why am I being short with people? And I have this nice closet. If you're watching on YouTube, I have this really nice closet beside me, and it's mine. And it has all my crafts, all my hobbies, my sewing machine, my painting, my embroidery, my like paper crafts, my books. Like, it has everything. It's very organized. I go through it every once in a while, but I pulled out my paints, and I haven't painted since December, January, when I was home alone, right? Like, I always have these coping mechanisms when Garrett is gone. And it's not that like Garrett would stop me from painting. It's just like we have other things to do. Like, I'd rather hang out with him. And also, like, I don't know why, but I feel like Garrett riles the dogs up. He could be just like sitting there, not even talking to them, and the dogs want to jump around, okay? And they want to be annoying. And I'm like, why do they have this energy with you when it's just us at home? Like, everybody is chill. Everybody is hanging out, and like, we are not jumping on one another. We're not roughhousing. Like, we're going for walks. We're like being outside. We're being so good to one another, right? And so I can have my paint out. I can literally sit in the living room on my carpet, watch a movie with my dogs laying around me, and we are fine. As soon as Garrett is in the mix and Garrett is watching TV with us, the dogs are rambunctious. The dogs want to play. The dogs want to bark. They want to jump on the couch. Like, they want to jump. When we're just chilling out, okay, they want to lay. Yes, they get pets. Yes, we can get on the couch. But like, it's a different energy, and I don't know why. So I prefer to paint while I am by myself or with the dogs. And I made this like really cute martini this past winter. Beautiful, stunning. I also made this like color blocking page that was like pink and orange, and you know, I wasn't really sure what to do with it, but it had dried. So I get out my paints And I'm thinking to myself, I want to paint something spring or summer. What's more spring or summer than blue and white stripes? So I start painting blue and white stripes. And as that is drying, I'm like, what should I do with this really, really nice piece of artwork that I made a couple months ago that is pretty dry? And I was like, I'm gonna try and paint a purple fish on it. And so I start to paint a purple fish. Oh, I'm sorry. First, before that, I like corrected one of the blocks, let that dry, painted this purple fish. I've never painted a fish shape before, and I'm gonna say like I'm an amazing painter. It's not a craft that I work on constantly, right? I feel like I would be better if I did it all the time. I'm crafty for sure, but am I an artiste? No, not an artiste. But definitely, I love to craft. I love to create things with my hands. I have a pretty steady hand. I've painted things like I can do this, right? So I'm like having fun. I am releasing any expectations from it even looking good. Like, do I want it to look good? Absolutely. I want to have something to hang on my walls. Like, my house is so bare. Like, I'm very in my homemaking era. That's a side note. Oh my gosh. I should save this. My pen fell earlier. I don't know if you heard that. My pen fell, I'm sure you did. My pen fell earlier. I'm gonna write a note. How annoying am I? But I'm in my homemaking era, and I would love to have something on my walls, right? Like, I would love to have something that goes on my walls that I'd be like, oh yeah, I painted that. How fun, how amazing. Like, I'm so cool, right? So I wanted to look good in that regard, but I'm not holding myself to a specific standard of what it should look like. And as I'm painting, am I still grumpy? Yes, I am still grumpy, but I'm painting and I'm like, okay, like, it's fine if it's not perfect. I started with a full sheet of paper for like my blue and white stripes. While I was painting, by the way, I was not watching Les Brown. I was watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. This is not something that I watched when it came out because I felt like it was just, everyone was talking about it. I'd read the books. I wanted a little bit of separation from the books and from like the movie. And I also hate waiting for episode after episode. I hate a small trickle. I like to trickle it myself. But in the regard, like, I have control of the episodes. So, like, Vanderpump Villa right now, I'm waiting every Sunday at frickin' midnight is when it comes out. No. That pisses me off. Okay, like, I want all episodes out now. Like, that means, yes, absolutely, gold star, love it. So, The Summer I Turned Pretty, I wanted all the episodes. And there's only 2 seasons. But I finished season 1 as I painted my things. And I was feeling so content. I was like, this was the perfect activity for my hands to just be able to do something, but my mind is able to wander. It's able to do any and everything, okay? Like, I'm not focused on controlling my thoughts in the aspect of, oh, it should be focused on this, right? Like, when we're at work, we need to focus on work. When we're working on a project or we're working on a deliverable, like, we have different feelings for different things. And so I'm like, okay, like, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna let my mind wander. That's what I mean by it. Like, I'm letting my mind wander and letting it do whatever it wants. And I am being so content, so present, if you will. Like, I'm being where my feet are and I'm letting my brain roam, wander, all the things, and I'm creating with my hands. And painting is something that I feel so good about, right? Like, I love to draw and I love to doodle, and it's not something that I take out of the closet all the time. And back in 2020 or 21, when I did want to invite some of those hobbies back into my life and try things, like I did embroidery. I don't know, you would have to be a really long time listener for this. I had a boutique at one time. Like, I distressed denim. Like, that was super fun for me. I thought thrifting was fun, so I'd thrift something and then I'd sell it. I'd like mutilate it essentially. I would add embroidery to it. Like, I would embroider something. And that was like a time and a space, and it was super, super fun. Again, I tried to monetize. That's not where my brain is at. I want to be able to embroider for fun. I want to be able to paint for fun. Like, I remember, oh my gosh, painting the butt of jeans was like super in, super trendy. And like you would paint a scene on your pocket. And so I painted like a little scene on my back pocket, and then I like sold a couple of those. Anyways, so painting for me, like, I didn't want to be beautiful. Like, obviously we always want things to look beautiful. I want to curate a feeling. I wanted to be happy. But as I'm painting this purple fish, like back and forth from the stripes, and I realized that because I'd waited so long for like the acrylic paint, I don't know, maybe purple is just hard, but it wasn't like sticking to the actual canvas properly. Like, it was kind of, I don't know, it was weird. It was not looking good. And I tried to fix it, and I was like, this is fine. And then I just started taking my paintbrush, and I was like doodling all over it. I was like, I don't care. I made a swirl, I made a smiley face, like really stupid. I put my paintbrush in the water, and I folded it in half, and I crumpled it up, and it felt so good. Like, obviously I had started with my stripes, and I tried to do like a lime green border, and I hated the border, so I just cut the border off. Being creative and doing things with your hands, or doing things with paint, or doing something for an outlet for yourself. Like I said, I was grumpy. I was not in the right mindset. I was just downright ugly, honestly. Did I take it out on that artwork? Maybe crumpling it wasn't the best thing to do. But it felt really good to, one, just let my mind wander, to paint on the canvas a little bit, and get off social media. Like, it felt so good and so freeing. And it was crazy to think this was an outlet that I had as a kid, and I really loved with all my heart. And I had all of these art classes, and I did all these things. And then we kind of forget about the things that light us up and make us happy. And when we're going through our day-to-day, and we're like, oh my gosh, like, what will make us happy? What will make us, feel good? I have trouble sleeping when Garrett's gone, right? Like, and by the time this episode comes out, he's already home. But I'll have trouble sleeping when Garrett's gone. And honestly, like, I used to have trouble sleeping even when Garrett was here, right? And I would, try and stay up super late, and then like try to go to bed where I'd like fall asleep. And as I'm like getting ready for bed, I'm just like taking a little temperature check on how I'm feeling. I'm like, yeah, I had, kind of a cranky day, but this afternoon, I painted. I feel good about that. And I made myself, I always have checklists for myself. I think it's really good for me to be productive for the bare minimum, right? Like, on my afternoon list, it was like, finish up with this client, switch laundry, go outside, lay in the grass. Like, I was being so gentle with myself. I wanted to be like just so present and so like just good that I made a checklist, and it was fine. It was easy. But here I am just like sitting in front of the TV. I'm finishing my dinner. I have my dogs. I had gone outside. I touched the grass. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, I actually don't feel too bad. Like, I'm getting used to being alone. I'm getting used to when he's like going places, like, I'll be okay, right? And it's that self-assuredness of, I'm gonna be fine. Like, he might be gone, but that's okay. I know that I'm gonna be able to move forward. I'm gonna be able to go about my day. I'm still gonna be productive. I'm not gonna be in a bad headspace, right? And so I finish out my movie, and I get into bed, and I read a little bit of my book, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna go to bed. I don't feel anxious. I'm feeling good. And I go to bed. Then I wake up around 3 o'clock. It's like 3 or 4 in the morning, and it's thundering out. It's crack right now, even through this podcast this afternoon. It's thundering outside, so you might hear a little bit of the rain or the thunder or anything. It's been raining all for the past couple days, honestly. And so when I wake up at, I think it was like closer to 4, I wake up and it's like crack of lightning, and The light is flickering in the room from obviously the lightning. And I got into bed and I'm like, great, like if I don't, because obviously I went to the bathroom, I had to, and then I'm like getting back in bed. I'm like, man, like I need to just like close my eyes, go to sleep, like not worry about it, not spiral. Like, oh, it's spooky outside. Like what's going to happen? Like, and then you get into this bad mindset, right? And so I'm like, oh, I'm not going to think about that at all. I'm going to go straight to sleep. And in the morning I woke up and it's still raining outside and it's beautiful. And I go for a walk with the dogs and I come back and I make my coffee and I'm sitting at the kitchen table, reading my little magazine with my eggs and my coffee. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, when I was a kid, I would have killed to be woken up in the middle of the night for a thunderstorm, right? Like that is something that your parents always said, oh, did you hear the storm last night? And of course you're a kid and have no worries in the world. You're like, man, I wish it would have woken me up. I wish I would have been able to look outside, right? I remember when I was like in 5th or 6th grade, opening my window so that I could hear the rain and the thunderstorm. And I stayed up really late to read a book and I had my light on. And I remember, and it could have just been a couple hours, my mom coming into my room and telling me, oh my gosh, you left your window open. It's wet all over, like it's rained inside, and like shutting my window. And in my dream, I thought that when she said, oh, you flooded your room, that it was like an actual flood and it was up to like my ankles and my knees, like it was filling up, but it was just a dream, obviously. And to think, oh my gosh, like when I was a kid, I would have killed for a thunderstorm waking up. But now I think, oh my gosh, like if I don't like go back to sleep, I'm not going to be able to sleep for the rest of the night. Like I'm going to be up. And when I'm up, like I might as well get on with my work. I might as well get my due diligence out, like switch the laundry, start on my day, hop on my computer, right? And I'm like, gosh, like when did I get scared of living? Like, oh, that's horrible. And not to say that I get spooked out all the time, but when it is in conjunction with my period and Garrett gone and all of these other stressors, right? Turning 26, like all these things, these plans that I've been working on, and to think, oh gosh, like here I'm letting life's simple pleasures, because sometimes like when I can't sleep, I literally turn on a thunderstorm radio on Spotify and I'm listening to thunderstorm, and here I can't even enjoy the thunderstorm, right? So it's going back to the things that like we loved as a kid, and like why don't we do those things as adults? Like why don't we incorporate those into our day-to-day life? Like why don't we strive to get messy with paint or try and build a huge peacock that's honestly just not great, or experiment? And I think back to how good I felt doing those things, and of course my childhood wasn't perfect, and I had those moments where I was like, oh, I'm not feeling great inside, but if I loved them as a kid, why can't I love them now? And why can't I experience them now? So that has just been kind of like on the forefront of my mind of incorporating those things that I did as a kid and loving them and embracing them and being more creative and not focusing on the stressors, I guess, like, and just letting go of all the things that are just kind of stressing me out. And I will say, connection to your phone is such like it's so dumb, right? Like it goes back to, it's kind of like the chicken or the egg, right? Like, do we feel stressed because we have the phone, or are we stressed without the phone? Like, obviously our cell phones give us knowledge and we're able to do all these things, but are we running the phone, or is the phone running us? Like, do we spend so much time, on social media or calling or being so connected to one another online that we're not actually like living our life? And I go back to always trying to put my phone away, right? Like when I wake up, I'm not on my phone. When I go to bed, like 2 hours before I go to bed, I'm not going to be on my phone. And I will say, like, there are moments of grinding where I'm like, I have to get this work done. I have to be putting forth like all this effort. I need to be doing these things. And yes, of course, like I'm gonna have my computer later into the night. I'm not gonna be focused on, whatever show we're watching, or like if I'm eating breakfast, like am I actually working too, or am I sitting down and eating the breakfast, right? And so I've been trying so hard to just like not look at my phone, and it's difficult because one, my alarm is on my phone, and maybe I should be getting an alarm that is not my phone, but I digress. So, and this is crazy. I literally felt like I was back in summer school or something, or summer. I woke up and I immediately, like you guys know, I love coffee first thing in the morning. And so like rolling out of my bed, going into the kitchen, grabbing some coffee, like that is par for the course. And when I make my coffee, usually I'm still in my pajamas, right? Like I get out of bed, I grab my robe, I put on my slippers, and I go to the kitchen to make some coffee. And I do love this, right? But with the shorter days, with the longer days, with the shorter days going by the wayside, and the sun being out more, except for the last couple days because it's been raining so much, but with the longer days, with summer coming, I want to get back on my step grind, okay? Like this is something that I feel like I'm always striving for or struggling with, trying to get all my steps in, trying to be active, trying to balance the workday with also all the other things that are so fulfilling and so good for your life. So I get out of bed and I get dressed. This sounds so dumb, like I don't know, like going into my little closet, putting on shorts and putting on a bra. Oh my gosh, this early before coffee. And not to be like one of those people, but come on. So I'm getting dressed, I put socks on, I'm preparing to put my shoes on, I go into the kitchen, I put on my tennies, I call the dogs, and we go for a walk. And I'm not looking at my phone. I didn't even text Garrett, like to say good morning or anything. Like I'm on my walk and I'm walking and I'm like, no music. There's no music. Like I'm not listening to a podcast. I'm not consuming. I'm just being fully present. And it made me also think, like, because I just watched Lily at her track meet, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like they're running with no music. Of course they're running for a sport, like they're running for being timed, or if they're going to be first, second, or third. But I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like everybody now has like headphones. Like if you and I have heard this about the like Boston Marathon, when you have so many wireless headphones all together, like they don't work. But like people have like corded headphones, and when they're running, they're listening to music or listening to podcasts. And I think, oh my gosh, like when in high school, like we worked out and we ran and did track with no music, like no podcast, no entertainment. And I'm like, what the heck? Like we were just bored. And so I'm trying to get my step count up, and I'm always like, I am all for doing something in a way that is easiest for you, right? Like it doesn't matter if you have to conjoin different habits to make a habit happen, as long as it's working for you. So this is just something that I have thought about for myself. You don't have to change anything that you're doing. But for me, like when I am on the treadmill or I'm outside, I want to be entertained. I'm listening to a podcast. If I'm inside, I'm listening to, my favorite podcast or YouTube, or, I'm watching a show and I'm working and walking, or, doing whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like when was I not consuming, but creating my own thoughts, being outside. And of course, like I said here in my podcast, and that's creating my own thoughts. And thank you so much for listening, right? Like, thank you for listening to the Golden Hour Drip. I really, truly appreciate it. And continue listening, or maybe shut it off, like if you need to create your own thoughts, right? And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, like I have not checked my phone. I'm walking outside. I've not had my coffee, and I'm breathing the fresh air. And for me, I'm like, I need to spend more of my morning outside. I need to be soaking up the sun. And I've been waking up like 6:37, okay? Like it's not crazy. Like I also work from home, so I know that I'm so grateful and blessed to be able to do that. Because at 8, when I need to be at work, I've just walked the block, I can come back and work. But as I'm outside, I'm listening to the birds. And I am like a huge advocate for listening to the birds. And I saw on social media, or no. This was at a Golden Gal Network meetup. One of the girls was like, yeah, I asked my sister if she knew what a mourning dove was, and we have some distance apart, like she's a little bit younger, and she didn't know what a mourning dove sounded like. And the girl who's telling me the story is like, well, I always heard the mourning dove because I was outside all the time. And I was like, for me, I hear all the birds. Like, I try to foster a nature-loving environment, right? Like, I told you last Friday about my my flowers, my May Day flowers, because I want my hummingbirds to come. I love the bumblebees. I love, even there's these like tomato weevils. What are they called? Anyways, I love it all, okay? I want to see the butterflies, I want to see the bees, and I have cardinals, I have bluebirds, I have so many different birds in my little forest behind me. It's insane. I love it. I think it's great. I always have the windows open. I always am sitting outside, or I sit on my hammock and I just lay, because it's good for my nervous system. Like, it's good for me to hear nature and feel safe, because they say if you can hear the birds chirping, that means you're safe. When the birds go quiet, when nature goes quiet, that's when, like, oh, you should feel a little nervous, right? And so I love that. I love to open up the windows, and as I'm going for a walk, I'm like, if I love the birds, the bees, and the hummingbirds and everything so much, like, why am I going on a walk to listen to a podcast? Like, at times, yes, like, I love to consume. I love to hear what the girls are doing. I love to hear about, you know, this story or the current events, right? But for me, I need to also incorporate more creative time and more time that I'm bored, right? Like, more time where I'm not tethered to my phone, where I'm just experiencing life. And I think about, like, going out to dinner. Like, what do? You have your phone. Like, and you're, you know, taking photos of the meal. But when is the last time that you just, like, went to a nice dinner and, like, didn't? And maybe this is just me. Like, maybe this is just me, where I feel, like, so connected to my phone, but I feel like I am just settling into a more simple way of my day-to-day, where I'm not consuming so much, where I'm instead focused on what is going to make me happy, and also, like, tuning into those emotions. Like, if I'm not happy, like, and I'm angry, how can I best support this anger? How can I best support what I'm feeling right now in this moment and use it to my advantage, right? Like, if I am feeling angry, like, why am I feeling angry? Did they actually do me wrong? Like, you know, you can have those emotions, and you can also put in place those goals and those things that you want to be working on and continuing through. And for me, I want to do more activities without a podcast, right? Like, I always, like, if I'm doing laundry, I'm also listening. And to a point, like, I want to be maximizing my time on learning something new when I'm also, like, folding laundry or whatever, some of those more mundane tasks. But where can we find the beauty in the mundane? Like, folding the clothes. Like, how can you be more present and more in the moment than ever before, and be happy with that and be so good with that? So for me, leaning into my hobbies, leaning into the things that make me happy and make me feel good is important, right? Like, to allow myself to have that self-expression, and it doesn't even have to be good. Like, it literally, the self-expression, it's not good, it's not bad. It doesn't have to be pretty. It can be ugly, and ugly doesn't mean bad, right? It can be all of the things at once. You can hold space for two truths, and you can just let it be. And I think the part of just letting it be and letting it just come naturally is what I'm looking for. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Please rate, review, subscribe, all of the things, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!